Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew, man? We're back today, man. We got a body cam today at Husband's House of Horrors. That's it.
You said that's it.
That's the title. A Husband's House of Horrors.
All right.
Looks very rural, the area.
Very.
But this could be a fake stage photo too, so I don't know.
It could be.
But hey, with that being said, before we get into it, it's very vague. Make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go if you want to first support. All you gotta do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals,
like it in with a thumbs up.
It's a little longer than what we have been doing lately as of body cams. You know what I'm saying? We've been doing a lot of short ones, but let's go. Let's check it out. Let's see what's about. If you're new to the channel, haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I see we're getting a lot of new subs, y'all. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the family, man. Hopefully, y'all enjoying the content as we go. But you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it.
911, where is your emergency?
I'm on North 225 West Road. There's a body hanging off the bridge, no head. There's a car coming.
No head.
Okay.
There's a dead body.
That's a deer.
Are you sure?
Yeah. But I'll back up and I'll check.
I'm on the phone with the cops now.
Okay, she thinks it's a deer?
No, it's a body. It's a body.
From what I can tell, it looks like an arm.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, with no head. I'm freaking out.
You're fine. I'm going to pull over and I'm going to stay with you.
Okay. I've never seen something like this.
On August 20th, 2020, officers responded to this bone-chilling phone call. At 5 a.m., they swarmed the Sugar Creek Bridge, and upon arrival, they were taken aback by the ghastly scene before them. What had momentarily been mistaken for roadkill was a deceased middle-aged woman. Her body was badly bruised, her arms were bent at odd angles, and most disturbingly, her head was gone.
Wow.
How and where she'd been left only made the scene harder to stomach. Closer inspection revealed that she wasn't next to the bridge's guardrail. Rather, she'd been stuffed underneath it, so that her upper body was splayed out on the road while her legs hung limply off the side of the bridge.
Wow.
At the same time that police were working to make sense of what might have happened to their headless Jane Doe, Indiana resident Michael Parks was making a 911 call to report his wife, Hope Parks, missing.
Hi, my name is Michael Parks, and me and my wife, we kind of got into an argument Tuesday, and I haven't seen her. And I'm getting...
And you just now...
Keyword.
The argument.
Me and my wife kinda got into How the fuck you put a kinda? It's either y'all got into an argument, y'all didn't. I know. Me and my wife kinda got into an argument. I haven't seen her in a couple days, and I'm worried.
I would take him.
Hold on.
I was just trying to see what.
Can you not like go by year?
Yeah.
I'm
like a busy child.
You still should be able to go by
Sometimes I
year.
be forgetting how to use the phone.
You should.
So the 20th was on a Thursday. So you said y'all got into an argument on Tuesday. You just now calling?
What day, month?
August 20th, 2020.
My bad.
You don't have to check behind me.
But y'all got so 2 days later. That's insane. And you just not. That's insane. And put Thursday.
Getting worried.
Okay, what's her name?
Hope. Somebody picked her up. She got into a car with somebody and they left. It was either a silver or white, like Honda Civic.
Following this call, a sergeant from the Crawfordsville Police Department briefly spoke with Michael over the phone to get a description of his missing wife. Michael described a few of Hope's tattoos, one being a heart with his name on it. After police inspected the body's tattoos, Michael was instructed to immediately make his way to the Crawfordsville Police Department to speak further about his wife's disappearance. Only when he arrived at the station was Michael informed that the headless woman they'd found that morning matched his description of his wife. For the sake of the investigation, he was immediately escorted into an interrogation room, where the following never-before-seen footage was recorded.
The one thing I do, I record everything because my notes suck.
And who is able to put a body like that? But also, you say y'all got into an argument on Tuesday. You say that.
Yeah.
The last time you seen her was on Tuesday, which give you 2 days to
come up with.
No, to get rid of. Not come up.
But you just,
which also is true.
Like though. If you have that amount of time, never mind. I don't want to talk or think like that. But
no, I'm saying to come up with it's true what you said.
And I'm like, you have that amount of time to get rid, but that's where you put it. That's where you put her body.
I'm saying any other evidence that you might have as well. Clean up the murder scene to get rid of any evidence. And you would have
had to probably do it overnight, because I doubt you did it broad daylight. I would hope. I mean,
also, it might be a small town where this bridge is not heavily traveled. But I'm thinking overnight as well. I agree with you on the overnight situation. Do that to your
I have
wife.
So much going through my head.
And then you got the nerve to sit up here with. I hope he ain't the. But then you got the nerve to come to the precinct with your wedding ring on. Take that off.
Like what?
Take that off.
Let's go.
I can't write with crap, so I do record everything. One thing. What is your full name, sir?
Michael Dale Hurst.
Interrogation rooms can be scary places, but Michael has been brought into a soft interrogation room. This is highly unusual. These soft rooms are primarily used for victims, usually children. As the grieving husband, the police may have chosen this room to offer him a bit of comfort. However, in most cases, the spouse is the prime suspect until they're cleared. If the police do suspect Michael, the choice of a soft room could then be an attempt to put him at ease. As well, the detective is making sure to alleviate any of Michael's possible concerns by telling him that the recording is for the detective's own notes.
What'd you call this department about?
I'm worried about her.
You're worried about your wife?
Yes.
Okay. Why? What's going on?
We've been arguing over my son for the last couple of months.
Okay.
He's in and out of drugs. Can't keep a job. He brought drugs into the house. I kicked him out. I don't want him there. She wants him there. It got to the point where I told her to choose between me or him. One of us has got to go. Well, he left. She's been wanting.
I'm never gonna say anything like that. We gotta figure something out. But it ain't goes. You pick between the child and us. You know what I'm saying?
The child and myself, yeah.
Yeah. But it's still like, bro, it's both of y'all child, right? How you gonna say pick? You pick it's the son of me, son of your husband. You choose.
And I get it. You don't want him to be like he doing drugs. You don't want that in the house and all of that. But I wouldn't have asked you to
make that decision. Yeah, like this. It's something that we got to talk about. We got to figure out a resolution. Him being here ain't gonna be the resolution because we don't want the drugs in the house. So we got to figure out a proper solution. How old is the son? That too. Because I wish he had asked it. You know.
I want him to come home. I say no. He got a speeding ticket and the proof of no insurance or whatever they call that. He has the car. It's his car. It's in my wife's name.
Oh, okay.
But he paid her for the car. He never took the title. I told her to give it to him, cancel the insurance. She never did. So that's how the argument started.
In just the first few minutes, Michael has made several assertions that indicate possible control issues. He's cited several instances where he's told his wife what to do rather than communicating and making decisions together.
She texted me, asked me if I called the insurance. I said no. I said I haven't had time. You can read it.
Okay.
Notice how Michael rubs his face after handing his phone to the detective. then proceeds to partially cover his mouth with his hand, keeping it there for the next couple minutes. Michael is also covering his genitals here. This is a common barrier used by men when they feel threatened or stressed.
Oh.
These gestures convey anxiety and uneasiness, not unusual for someone who's just lost their spouse.
I'm finna just
Y'all,
cover.
let me tell you.
I'm gonna cover my genitals for here on out.
Let me see. Seeing these since we've been doing these, and they always talk about the body language and stuff. I said, God forbid anything, because I'm already like a mess. You know, I be having 1,000 things going through my head. I be like overwhelmed with everything. I would hate for somebody to be like, oh my gosh, that's a defense mechanism, like the body language, because I'm already like, you know, I didn't know that. I learn something new every day. Like, what? Okay.
However, hiding the face is also typical of someone who might be trying to hide something else.
Your son has some drug issues or anything? Does your wife have any alcohol or drug issues?
No.
Is there anything that...
No.
Okay.
She's very controlling.
Michael's answer here is completely irrelevant to the question. Instead of simply responding with information about Hope's substance abuse, he goes into a rather sudden and impertinent spiel about how controlling she is. So far, Michael has taken almost every chance to speak negatively of his wife, even if it wasn't warranted.
As far
She's
as
very clean.
self-control or controlling on everybody?
Controlling on everybody.
Okay.
That's hate. That's hate.
Projecting, because you the one seem like you.
But that's
with the
hate
control
though.
issues.
If my wife is missing,
I'm not about to sit here and talk. I don't
Talk
know what
down.
issues we got going on. I'm not about to sit here and paint her like she's a freaking villain. You know what I'm saying? But,
Which I'm used to it. They don't bother me.
Yeah, 25 years. You find your niche. I mean,
I've gotten used to it. I take medication. I do have anger issues, but I take medication for it.
boom.
But I've never done anything.
Michael continues to divulge information that wasn't asked for. The fact that he has anger issues, which he takes medication for, clues detectives in on Michael's capacity to become violent. He then feels it necessary to include that he's never done anything violent to his wife. What Michael is doing here is oversharing, or volunteering unnecessary and excessive amounts of information. Oversharing is, more often than not, a nervous attempt to convince others that one is being open and honest. However, as you can see here, it often has the opposite effect. It's entirely possible that Michael could be oversharing to alleviate anxiety, as some people tend to do.
Okay. So nothing controlled substance, no Xanax or anything like that. Okay. Now, and granted, it's what all families do as well, especially if you're arguing over a kid and stuff.
I want to hurt him. I hate to say this and have it on recording, but I do. I want to hurt him.
Did he really lock his ass up already, bro?
you want to hurt him. This is.
But I
this
can't get it.
This is a song that y'all share together, right?
He said my son.
You want to hurt him, but you can't get to him. So what? You know.
I guess you go after mama.
Okay. Let me just
That's
get more
insane,
information,
bro. Is that not insane?
Indeed.
Why I'm going up here like
That's why he had to go.
Michael doesn't even let the detective finish his question before he goes off on another tangent. This time, he derails the conversation to the topic of his son, John. Admitting to something less egregious in order to appear completely transparent is a common tactic used to gain the trust of others.
Would she confide in him or your daughter?
Yes.
Or,
Him.
okay.
Me and my daughter are real close. Her and John are real close. She'll do anything for me, which that's what makes me mad.
Michael clearly possesses a considerable level of bitterness toward his wife concerning how much she dotes on their son. Not only that, but up to this point, Michael has centered the entire interrogation around how toxic he believes his wife and son are, painting John as the problem and his wife as an out-of-control enabler. If he did have something to do with what happened to Hope, he's just established a clear motive for himself.
When she left, you started getting in the car, right? Did you happen to see the driver at all? Couldn't tell, male, female, anything?
Frankly, Michael seems much more concerned about their intermarital issues than he does about the fact that his wife might have been found dead just that morning.
And not only that, like, let's look at it this perspective as well. We're talking about a lot of stuff that's not even relevant to you know what I'm saying, her went missing. You should say, hey, we had an argument, this is what the argument was about, but when she left out, and I tried to contact her. We ain't have none of this. Now only thing he's talking about is putting down her character. That's a biggest red flag to me.
But
we didn't say, hey, I tried to reach out to this person, reach out to that person. We just, I hate her. I got anger issues. I'm on medication.
I wanted to hurt my son.
We ain't talking about nothing about recovering my wife. Seeing where she at, because I'm concerned for her safety. That's scary, bro.
Has she ever been known to kind of step outside the marriage at all? Is there nothing? No. Nobody from her past that she could run to?
We used to live in Illinois. Me and my daughter talked about that. I said anything. It's my daughter. I haven't told her yet.
Well, and we're still, they're still doing some stuff somewhere else. So that's why we're talking to you to get information. And I actually don't even know what all the officers told you. I'm just trying to get
he just
overall picture.
Told me that the tattoos that I described to him, which I do have pictures of them, the tattoos matched.
It's so calm for me to have gotten news that the person that they found on this bridge could possibly be your wife.
I didn't think he even had, like, this whole time. I'm thinking he doesn't even know.
That's why I was like, have they told him yet, or they're just making it seem like they're trying to get information as more of a missing person, you know.
But they done already told you it's a possibility she matched the description
of the person
because of based off the tattoo.
I would be for me.
I would be worried, stressed the fuck out, and hoping that this person is not my wife. Damn, bro.
I'd be like, no way, baby. There has
How many red flags that is?
All of them.
No, I'm saying this is about 3. I think it's about 3 right now.
4 or 5.
No. The first red flag is the phone call.
Oh,
first time we said red flag. We said red flag again, and now this is the 3rd red flag. So yeah,
I done lost count.
You said earlier you were gonna give her till Friday. What made you decide to go ahead and call today?
Emotions. I'm very worried. I'm very worried about her. I miss her.
What he say?
In addition.
Emotions. I'm very worried. I'm very worried about her. I miss her.
In addition to stuttering throughout his answer, Michael appears to break eye contact with the detective for a moment and looks directly at the camera. He seems uncertain in what he's saying.
We may have found her. So we're still looking into that.
Before now, Michael has been informed that the tattoos found on the headless woman matched those of his wife. However, hearing the news again begets a distressed reaction, which is expected. He covers his mouth with his hand and looks away from the detective. He also uncrosses his leg, a shift referred to as an anchor point movement. When someone is stressed, you'll commonly see shifts in their anchor points. In the case of a person who's sitting down, like Michael, their anchor points are their legs, buttocks, and back. Though his physical reaction is appropriate, it seems oddly void of the usual overwhelming anger or sadness that you might see from someone in Michael's position.
What made you think that something had happened to her?
I think it's just stress.
The right answer would have been, I haven't been able to get in contact with her. I've been reaching out, trying to call her, contact her. I reached out to family members, loved ones, friends. Nobody has heard or seen from her. That's the right answer.
Home. You said she left and got in a silver or white car, whatever.
I didn't even know who the individual she was getting picked up by.
And she didn't come home that night, that alone. Baby, I'm calling. I ain't waiting no 2 days. I ain't waiting no hours. Girl, where you going? Who you going with? I don't know that car. I don't know that person. No.
Yeah, boy, too many signs shows guilt already, man. This what, fourth?
Lost count.
This is fourth. We doing red flag count. This fourth. I wish I could put 4 flags up. I ain't.
Think anything happened to her? It's just worried. I wanted to know where she was.
This question is at first met with silence from Michael, perhaps because it requires him to go into detail about how he feels about his wife's disappearance. He seems uncomfortable and exasperated, but he proceeds to mumble an answer from behind his hand.
He's going to go over a couple papers with you as far as the consent and just consent to search your house and the car, because there's some things we need to find out about her. Because like I said, I don't know her, I don't know you, because we need to find out how she got
Search her car?
Yeah, but I'll go ahead and let him fill that paperwork out. I'll step outside and I'll try to get some more information.
Michael's body language is very important here. At the mention of needing to search their home and car, Michael begins to noticeably fidget. He rubs his face and his leg begins to shake, though he seems to catch it and get himself back under control. Michael is then left alone in the interrogation room for the next few minutes. He changes positions and fidgets quite frequently. At one point, he even puts his head in his hands. These gestures signify stress and uneasiness.
And he ain't let a single tear come out that eye yet. But it's my wife of 25 years. Y'all have possibly found her in the manner of the way she was discovered is even worse. Come on now.
What we'd like to do.
I think the only reason why he called contact, because at the end of the day, that is his wife. 25 years of y'all being together, even though you got hatred for her, you wanted her body to be found. You probably thought she would have been found sooner. Because at the end of the day, I still want her to be, loved ones sometimes they might commit a murder and kill someone, but they're like, it's a sense of remorse where they want the body to be found. Especially when they lay them out openly like that. It's because I still want you to be found.
Was be able to get consent, and we'd like to be able to get that from you. Is that something you'd be willing to do?
I can bring you the car right now if you want.
Normally, a search warrant is required to search someone's property. It's common knowledge that in order to obtain a search warrant, police must have probable cause, or specific facts that would lead a person to believe that evidence of a crime is located on someone's property. However, it's a lesser-known fact that police can simply ask an individual for permission to search their property. The owner's written consent is just as valid as a search warrant, and officers will often try to garner consent to search from the suspect first, especially in time-sensitive cases, as it saves them a lot of precious time and resources.
Okay. I'm going to go over this with you, okay, sir? Are you able to read and write and understand the English language? Yes. Okay. So...
Note how his hands are positioned. When a person feels threatened or stressed, they'll sometimes subconsciously take up a position that protects or covers their vital body parts. Given the circumstances, he has plenty of reason to be anxious that could have nothing to do with guilt. He might simply be displeased with the idea of strangers rummaging through and taking things that belong to his possibly deceased wife.
Would you like a...
Boy, you got the shakes because you about to piss yourself. God damn, they finna find this shit. That's how he acted. But this one really covering the body language.
This is the thing. It's like he doesn't want to be like super defensive and be like, no, you can't, because it's like now that's a red flag
shows signs,
and shows signs of like
in his
a
mind.
Sense of guilt or trying to hide something, right?
Yeah.
So let me be as forthcoming and
open.
as like open and willing to help as I can, so that that maybe they're not looking at me. Maybe they won't really find nothing. Maybe I covered all my tracks, whatever the case may be. But
boy, you ain't that good to cover all them tracks.
No, you missed something.
Fat her follicle, or blood dropping, anything.
Water or anything? Okay.
Also, Michael's shakes are likely spurred on by intense levels of anxiety and shock that he's experiencing. Shaking is a common physical reaction to bad news. During this break in the interview, CPD officers made a beeline for Michael's residence to execute their search. They scan the exterior of the property before thoroughly searching the inside of the Parks home for any clues as to where Hope might have gone on the night that she disappeared. What they would find in and around the Parks property would only raise more questions about Hope's disappearance. Questions that detectives hope Michael can answer for them. Following the break, detectives bring Michael back into the interrogation room in hopes that he may shed some light on their unexpected findings.
Do you know of anybody that would want to hurt her? You said she wasn't close to anybody else. I mean, somebody that would be,
She knows how to piss people off, I can tell you that.
She knows how to piss people off, or you know how to piss people off?
No.
That's crazy to me, bro.
Did you see that? Because I know you had looked away for a
I
second.
did look away because I couldn't believe he said that. My bad.
No, look.
She knows how to piss people off, I can tell you that.
She knows how to piss people off.
Oh, that little smirk, that little smile, that little giggle, a little chuckle. What's funny? Your wife is possibly...
He has no remorse.
Your wife is missing. Let's say that.
He
and
has
possibly deceased.
He has no remorse of his crime.
That's crazy to me.
He hated her.
You know how to piss people off.
No, she knows how.
It's chilling that Michael can describe his wife in such a shocking and insensitive way right after she's been found so devastatingly mangled and discarded. Perhaps he's using a bit of humor to cope with his feelings, or perhaps detectives are getting a peek into Michael's true feelings toward his wife.
Part of what we were looking for, and we found some blood at your house. Would there be any reason why there would be blood at the house?
The question of the blood is sprung on Michael quite suddenly, likely in the hopes that they'll catch him off guard in a lie. This is called a bait question. The detective will carefully observe Michael's behavioral responses to this question.
Me? I cut myself. My finger.
How you cut
Smashed my
yourself?
finger.
There was some blood located in the garage.
That would be when I smashed my finger. I was doing the transmission. And you say you saw the motor and stuff in there, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
See the truck? It's a badass truck.
The remark about his truck seems completely inappropriate given the circumstances.
Facts.
However, it's not uncommon for someone who's experiencing high levels of uneasiness to make out-of-place comments in a subconscious attempt to escape the situation.
So this is kind of where you need to kind of step up to the plate to tell us what happened. It was at your house that something happened to her.
Not with me.
There was nobody else that could have been.
I don't know what to tell you.
Michael simply shrugs off the detective's theory that he somehow took part in his wife's murder. A person in his position would typically react with some measure of shock or outrage at such an accusation. Michael, on the other hand, doesn't even seem interested in what they found inside his home or what the findings could possibly mean.
Saying I did something?
Yeah. And we're just trying to figure out, I mean, obviously, you're not a bad person. You've got 2 kids with her. You've lived a long life with her.
This is a strategically placed pacifier since, if Michael becomes too upset, he might close himself off or request a lawyer. This would immediately end the interview. It's in the detective's best interest to keep Michael open and willing to answer questions.
I didn't do anything. I swear to God, I did not do anything.
Swearing to God serves a similar function as a qualifier here. It's used as an attempt to add credibility to a statement that's otherwise hard to believe. This is called bolstering.
Well, part of it is, like I said, we went through the whole house. We found everything.
The detective is intentionally being vague about what investigators found at Michael's home in order to gauge Michael's reaction before the big reveal.
Come on.
What's everything?
Her. The rest of her.
Okay.
So
What?
How the fuck you say some? Yeah, bro, you're guilty.
Okay. What?
You're guilty. It
You know what the
screams
heck they
guilt,
found?
like because the way
You
he
know what
said,
you
he
did
said,
to her?
"Okay, man,
Yeah.
bitch."
you know, we found everything.
Yeah, look at him.
You got a hand
This
on
is a
that
critical
crotch.
moment in the interrogation, but caught under the microscope of what should be a bone-chilling reveal, Michael's response is rather dull.
Been
There's
dull the
no
whole
immediate
time.
reaction, and the reaction he does give seems to be one of exasperation rather than shock or concern.
Facts.
He exhales deeply, leans back, and, most notably, he covers his face once again, a move we've come to recognize as a possible attempt to hide something that the face might give away. Hope's head is perhaps the most incriminating thing that officers found inside the home. However, that's not all they found. An exterior search of the property yielded several blood smears and stains on the gravel in front of the garage door, in the grass next to their back patio, on the wood floor of the patio itself, as well as on the ramp that leads up to the patio. Blood smears as well as bloody footprints were found inside the garage. A bullet casing was also found in the grass near the patio. The interior of the home was reportedly very clean and well kept. That is, until officers got to the basement. Spots of blood were visible on the steps leading down into the foreboding cellar. Continuing down the stairs, it became apparent that there were drag marks in the shallow layer of dirt that covered the concrete basement floor. Large bloody zip ties and torn pieces of plastic were also found in several locations around the basement. Down there, among the dust and discarded equipment, officers made the most unsettling discovery of the investigation: Hope's severed head. It had been wrapped in plastic shopping bags, placed in a shallow hole in the floor, and covered in dirt and debris, hidden by a pile of flex ducts that had been arranged on top of the grave. Circumstantial evidence makes it apparent to everyone present that Michael had something to do with his wife's murder. However, there's not yet any physical proof that he is the one that hurt Hope.
So, and obviously you're not a bad person. You provided for your family. You've done. So what happened? What snapped?
Here, the detective is suggesting a lighter version of events, that Michael simply snapped under the pressure of his controlling wife. This version paints him as a generally good person, maybe even as a victim himself. However, if Michael were to go along with this reasoning, he'd still be admitting to killing his wife.
I know what you're thinking, but no, it wasn't me. I'm sorry.
Who else could be?
Talk to my son.
Michael has gone out of his way to paint his son in a negative light.
Woo!
Now he's finally come out and said what he
crazy.
seems to have been implying. He claims that his son John is likely responsible for Hope's death.
I've told you we've had people come to the house. My neighbors know about it.
Yeah, I've talked to him quite a bit today. But part of it too, you're telling your son, if he's screwing up, then, you need to step up to the plate. And if you screwed up, you need to step up to the plate.
Yes, I understand.
There's nobody that's going to hurt your wife like you would hurt her.
Facts.
And that's what happened to her.
Facts.
It wasn't me. No.
Before Michael denies involvement this time, we catch a brief moment of hesitation, as if he's thinking about something before he seems to snap back. He then makes several sudden movements. He shifts his legs, buttocks, and back, all three anchor points that we discussed earlier. Michael's denial is rather weak, using one-word answers and looking away. An innocent person would be forceful and adamant with their denial when being accused of murdering their wife. He's likely reflecting on his...
See, why you keep looking at me? Every time... see, you gotta quit looking at me like that.
I'm just looking.
No, you not.
But no, I know, because I was thinking, I was like, bro, I said, not you trying to, shift the blame on your son. When we already know that Hope and your son John are close.
Yeah, they got a close relationship.
So why would, you know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, he would hurt you.
It's a possibility still.
No. Anything is a possibility.
Reason
right?
why I'm saying is because it could have been a drug-induced rage that he could have done, but
if you always at the house and you will have.
But if he hasn't done anything that's drug-induced rage, he's just not going to take something and immediately go to that extreme. You know what I'm saying?
No.
There would have been patterns that led up to so that he's aggressive, whatever he's on.
But it's crazy. Okay, but nothing that won't make sense though. Just because you said you seen her get in a car with somebody, now they done found her head down in the basement.
Which is true.
Let's be for real.
But I'm not saying like you gotta.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Like all evidence at the end of the day still points in his direction because like 100% the body language shows it all. Even Why the hell you keep looking at me like that, y'all?
talking.
Y'all know it's the way, it's the manner you doing it though. I'm like, bro, I'm finna click off this video.
I'm just looking.
Y'all, every time something like motherfucker, you better not ever do no shit like bro. Look at like see y'all.
This
don't
is
see,
how my eyes see.
y'all don't see. She hit me with the motherfucker.
Well, no, I'm looking like that because my eyes are dry.
No, you motherfucker. I bet that.
No.
His decisions up until this point and weighing his options.
Next person I need to talk to is your daughter. And I'm going to have to
Talk to my daughter.
Where the fuck you going?
Michael, sit
We'll
your
never see, sir.
please, because you doing a little bit too much pacing.
And I honestly,
I
I don't like killers walking behind me, man. I ain't got time.
Put me in a chokehold or something. Then no, sit on down.
Because I ain't gonna lie, the detective trying to go ahead and get his stands in case I need to protect myself.
Better sit down now.
With your dickies on.
The detective instructs Michael to sit back down to reassert his authority and for safety reasons, as he wants to be able to see him. Michael's resolve is visibly wearing down under the pressure. Pacing is notoriously a nervous act, an effort to release nervous energy and ease mounting tension.
Something happened to her that night, and something happened to her at your house. You were the only one there at your house that night.
I guess this is the part where I need a lawyer. Because you're not listening to me.
To invoke one's right to an attorney, the suspect should unequivocally declare that they want to speak to an attorney.
True.
However, if the suspect gives a more ambiguous remark about obtaining counsel, most courts require the interrogator to inquire further to clarify their desire.
Also, what he say? I guess at this point, that's why I need to speak to a lawyer.
But he hasn't
he hasn't specified that. I want my lawyer.
It's wording. We always talk about that.
I ain't gonna lie. Literally, from my law class, like I took it in college. That's one thing that I was like, damn, wording is every freaking thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because after reading through like lawsuits and going through legal paperwork is when I realized like one word can like change the direction of what this
you can agree with
contract says,
and then it gets to one thing, and it like basically,
bro, literally a contract. It was a famous rock band she represented, and she gave us the contract, right? And bro, it got to the third page, and there was one word in that mug that voided everything you already worded, and this is where the contract actually picks up at. And I said, bro, what was the point? But the point is to throw you off to believe this part is what you thinking, and ain't. She was like, is wording is everything, and I was just like, bro. And from that point on, wording has always stood out for me, and especially with these body cams, it really helps you like pay attention to how people phrase things, how people deliver things in a way that in the manner that they do, and it's like, bro. Because I thought, like, because sometimes body cams, I was like, I seen in the past, I'm like, all right, they kind of insinuate that they want a lawyer. Why are y'all still talking?
Insinuating is not.
But I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. No, like, say, I'm like, if you in this situation, you know you're 100% innocent, and you want a lawyer, literally say, or if you're guilty, however you want to put it, say, I'm done talking, I want to speak to my lawyer. They got to cut the interview. Or I want legal counsel.
Yeah.
Michael has not yet stated clearly that he wants legal representation.
I guess this is the part where I need a lawyer.
Therefore, detectives can legally continue to question him.
Because they could say that you was asking, is this a time that I might need a lawyer? Because I guess that's the part where... I guess,
like, you know...
That's a question.
It's kind of like one of those... Like, I guess at this time, it's like you throwing it out there.
That should I have a lawyer?
Should I? Like, is this a point? Like, are you trying to cute? Like,
nah, I don't know. This you ain't asked. I don't know.
You better be clear.
And I can't instruct you that you need one. I got a job to do.
But ideally should have clarified if he was requesting counsel or not before continuing.
True.
Otherwise, they risk the rest of his statements being inadmissible.
That is true.
I'll answer your questions. I'm just saying I didn't do this.
Okay.
And you can ask me this 100 times, and I'm still going to tell you.
And by him saying,
Okay,
I would
and
ask
then
you
with
the rest
that
of your
follow
questions.
up with him, like with him saying, like, okay, the detective should have
But the
followed
detective
up.
should have followed up and
But with
said,
him right after that saying, I will answer your questions, then we must proceed. We can proceed then.
I did not do this.
You're the only one at the house. You're the only one who could know what happened to your wife. Okay? You didn't mean to do this to her.
Michael's body language indicates that he shut down. The protective position of his arms across his body is a self-soothing behavior that indicates that he's closing himself off from the situation, likely due to sheer discomfort and stress.
So we're trying to ask you, how did she lose parts of her body in your house?
No clue.
You have a clue.
No, I do not.
Yeah. There's nowhere else for us to look. There's nowhere else for us to go. There's nobody else to talk to about this. But
All right, I want a lawyer.
And just like that, the interview is over. This time, Michael has clearly communicated his desire to speak to a lawyer.
Yeah.
The detectives are no longer allowed to ask him any more questions.
Say so.
It's back after.
Over the next 10 minutes, Michael attempts to make conversation with the detective who's no longer inclined to speak with him, since the detective can't question him any further. After the detective refuses to allow Michael another smoke break, Michael gets up and begins to anxiously pace the room once more. When he sits back down, he sits on the side of the couch that's the farthest from the detective. This clearly communicates his desire to escape the situation as soon as possible. Finally, the silence is broken by a police officer who has come to put Michael in handcuffs. His hopes of removing himself from the situation are dashed.
You guys got this all wrong.
Can't talk to you anymore, but
Michael makes one last plea of innocence, but detectives are no longer feeding into it. He's escorted to a holding cell by a pair of armed police officers. However, this isn't the last that detectives will hear from Michael. Over the next few days, officers continue to investigate the Parks' home and cars, follow up on potential leads, and speak to the couple's friends and family members.
Didn't they find a shell casing outside in the backyard?
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, oh, this look like it might be like a little secluded, like off in like in a country. I didn't think the neighbors was that close.
Yeah.
So the neighbors should have heard a gunshot.
Yeah.
So I wonder, did any neighbors hear a gunshot?
I guess,
at
and
any
also
point?
depending on what time.
True,
it was.
because
I mean, you can
even
still,
at night if I'm
you
sleeping,
can
at a
still
gunshot
hear, but
line.
some people sleep harder than others. So
True,
I'm just saying,
true.
like you may have heard someone or a couple people like heard something, but didn't really.
Because I've heard gunshots at the neighbor's crib before, and I'm like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And it catches you startled. You like, the fuck? Hold on, what was that? Because it makes you stop. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you hear it, you just like, I know I ain't hear what I just thought I heard, but.
Detectives have lost hope of getting any valuable information out of Michael. That is until 4 days later, when he unexpectedly requests to speak to detectives again without a lawyer present.
Hey there, Mr. Parks. Sure you remember me from the other day? Yes, sir. Okay.
This interview takes place the following Monday.
It was Tuesday. I got off work early at 3:30. I was home by 4:15. Kids came over. Like I said, that was not a lie. We were arguing, like I said, over my son. I was on the back porch after everybody left. I was going to shoot a groundhog. I had groundhogs in the backyard. I knew it. My neighbor does. He never came back. I went to discharge the gun. I shot 3 rounds into the tree. I went in the house. I was going to clean the gun. I sat at the kitchen table. It went off. There was still 1 round in it. She hit the floor. She was fixing dinner. And I panicked. I just flat out panicked. I didn't know what to do.
In the state of Indiana, accidentally killing someone doesn't make a person guilty of murder. To be considered a murder, the prosecution must prove that the killing was intentional.
It was intentional.
Therefore, if detectives accept Michael's version of events, then the most Michael can be charged with in the state of Indiana would be reckless homicide.
Boy, the way and manner you spoke about this woman after the fact, all indicate that it was intentional.
And not even just
If it was a reckless homicide, and even if you panic, right, I still wouldn't have spoke. I would have spoke more encouraging, more positively, because I didn't mean to do it. But it's the manner that you talk so negative about her shows me that you know.
Yeah, true. I definitely agree with that. And also, my thing is, say for instance, just
Things like that can happen.
I was in a situation like that, right? And I'm in Indiana, and you accidentally do something or whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, I'm either going to get charged with reckless homicide because at the end of the day, my spouse is deceased.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to get charged with, I guess first, second degree, whatever murder. Yeah. It's the way you went about. You literally cut her head off, buried it in the basement, took her body, stuffed it on the bridge, or whatever the case may be.
Hung it on the bridge.
Because
he had it roped up, tied up.
Hung it on the bridge.
That's what you do,
went back to the house,
animals and shit.
Covered up, cleaned up, whatever you did, and you lied about it. Then talked down on your
and reported it 2 days later.
And then reported it 2 days later.
You didn't know somebody was gonna find it.
That's what stormed me. You know what I'm saying?
That wasn't an accident.
And if it was an accident, because like I said, you were still going to get charged with something. I still would have called right away. I would have called the authorities right away.
Also, if I panic and I didn't know what to do, I wouldn't have cut the head off and only buried the head. You would have buried the body and tried to hide it and then you would have said she ran off. I don't know where. You wouldn't cut the head and then hang her up like a trophy. Body hang up on the side
bridge.
Of that in that manner.
Like, come on, let's be for real, bro.
That's somebody that hated somebody. And then the way in the manner you spoke about the woman in the investigation, you couldn't stand her. You hated her.
You grew to hate her.
Even then, in order to win a reckless homicide charge, the prosecution would have to prove that Michael was acting recklessly, and that his recklessness somehow led to Hope's death.
There was blood everywhere. I covered it up. I picked everything up. I cleaned the mess up. I put it in the garbage. Everything else is just kind of a blur.
If Hope's death was an honest accident, it doesn't make logical sense that he would try to cover it up. Typically, when someone has accidentally hurt another, especially someone they love, their first move would be to call for help or to take some action to try to save their life. Michael, on the other hand, didn't even try to correct his supposed mistake. To make matters worse for detectives, Michael's story not only features unlikely details, but also missing details or blurs that detectives have to uncover. His recount is seeming more unreliable as it unfolds.
What do you do after that?
I sat there and I cried. I thought about everything that was going on with fighting, with John, with the gun. Nobody was going to believe me.
Michael has gotten to what is supposedly a very emotional and traumatic moment in his story. Therefore, it's odd that he recounts it with little emotion. His lack of emotional reaction over the course of the interviews is noteworthy.
Because it didn't
know what to do. I'm sorry I lied.
No, that's fine. Now here's a chance for you. Tell us what happened. So she's on the floor. You're upset, obviously. What did you do at that point?
I wrapped her in a tarp and took her down to the basement. I cleaned everything up.
By telling detectives how he moved the body and cleaned the scene, Michael might have just unknowingly admitted to tampering with evidence. Even if he does secure himself a lesser murder charge, the prosecution could potentially use that information against him to get him more jail time.
When you took her downstairs, you said you wrapped her up in a tarp.
Where's the blue tarp?
Michael covers his face entirely with his hand, and his voice breaks as if he's crying. It doesn't seem that there are any other indicators of genuine emotion, though. No sniffles, tears, or heavy breathing. If this is an attempt to feign sadness, it's a rather lackluster one. It's more likely that this performance is an excuse to hide his face, which Michael has proven to do when he's lying.
I only know about guns and what people tell me, so I'm just regurgitating information as far as...
That's the only gun I've ever fired.
Okay. The closer you are to something or somebody, you get more residue, and the further away, the less residue you get when you fire the gun. So she seemed to have some residue around the entry wound. So that would indicate that the gun would be closer. Well,
That's
feet.
crazy.
This single piece of evidence.
No, I'm just saying he was in close range. That's why I said like,
yeah, do it that way.
No, I'm saying like you, because you would be. I ain't got no gun. I don't even touch guns. So stop. But I'm saying it was point blank range. If I'm cleaning, we do know a dummy who has cleaned a gun and the gun went off. We do know a dummy who has done that.
Yeah.
Back home.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And the bullet just go off. That's different.
Yeah.
Then.
If y'all don't know how to handle guns, and I'm not even just talking about them, I'm talking about the situation. If y'all do not know how to handle guns, please put them down. Because the person you gave don't even know how to freaking handle a damn gun. But anyway, this right
loading the gun with the gun pointed at itself.
Gun pointed at yourself.
You about to kill it.
Okay, but even with this, because you said she was up making dinner. I'm thinking maybe you came in and sat down to. But he would have been sitting down.
So the bullet, like if you clean the trajectory, you ain't going.
It's not. I don't know, but they haven't said where she was shot at, did they?
No,
they haven't said that. So,
but
still,
but with the gunpowder residue,
it was close.
It was close range, more like a direct shot.
Yeah.
She probably
was it to the back of the head?
She probably didn't even see
Didn't
it.
Didn't he probably see? You know what I'm saying? Okay, I need more information.
Evidence puts a rather large hole in Michael's story. If Michael can't bridge this gap between his story and the evidence, it would be nearly impossible for Michael's attorneys to prove that the shooting was accidental.
Right.
For me to be able to help, I gotta know your side.
I don't know how close she was standing. I know that she was getting ready to fix dinner. That's all I know. And I sat down. I had the gun in my hand. That's when it went off. I'm telling you, I did not do it deliberately.
Michael likely knows that he's in a deep hole right now, since his assertion that he didn't deliberately shoot his wife isn't said with much conviction. On the contrary, it seems there are notes of desperation in his voice. He needs detectives to believe his story, yet he's likely very aware that his defense of "I don't know" isn't helping his case at all.
The doctor and the gunshot, he actually put in his report that it was a contact wound, which means the barrel was close to the skin and it went off.
Then maybe she was closer than what I thought.
Now that detectives are back on the topic of the gunshot wound, Michael has wrapped his arms tightly around himself. This is a protective position that may be Michael's attempt at self-soothing. It's clear that Michael is uncomfortable with this subject, very possibly because he doesn't have an answer for it.
So if you're at the table and she's at an angle, can I get some water?
It seems that Michael might be asking for some water to create a break in the conversation, perhaps to buy himself time to think of a sufficient answer to the detective's questions.
There's going to be two schools of thought on this. One, somehow you tragically shot her with the muzzle of the gun touching the back of her head. Or two, there was a disagreement, there was an argument, and a snap.
There was no
bad judgment. No argument after everybody left.
No argument.
Were you still just upset from the argument earlier? It's just people on the outside looking in.
I don't care what anybody else thinks. The whole thing was shooting her. If she was where she was standing, I don't know. If she was right there, I don't know. I did not stick the gun to the back of her head and pull the trigger. I did not do that.
And all I'm telling you is the science proves differently.
Then she was closer than what I thought.
That's a lot closer.
That's all I can say.
Okay. You didn't want her to die.
No.
He's pissed off. Only reason why he pissed off is because he's forcefully trying to get y'all. It's like, I can't get y'all to fathom to believe me. Y'all gotta believe me. I'm trying to force y'all to believe me.
It's like I done come back in here 4 days later. You done came over with this story. And you like you said, I need y'all to believe the story that I have created.
And if you're not, it's like,
that's that anger. He already said earlier he had anger issues.
And that's why he always ticking and twitching
and then in this case, he trying to control it.
He can't. He know he can't.
But circumstances led to her death. What was the mental capacity of you at the time? Were you so enraged from an earlier argument that she mouthed off something and you don't know what you did?
The detective is offering Michael a way out by suggesting that his actions were simply triggered by something that his wife might have said. This shifts some of the blame onto his wife, which may make it easier for Michael to admit his part in what happened.
That's all he wants y'all to do.
Kind of a
Someone blame her.
Tasmanian devil kind of event after she's on the ground. You lost it. And it's okay to tell me that because that shows emotion.
And before he came in, that was the one thing that I was trying to figure out what happened. The hamburger, if she's down here.
I think I'm the one that knocked it off the stove.
Can you tell us what's going on when that hamburger gets knocked off the stove?
Yeah, I think I called myself an idiot. The you do?
By recalling what specific words he used at the time, he might be trying to draw attention away from what actually caused the hamburger to be knocked off the stove, such as a fight or struggle.
Ever been a problem with that rifle's trigger and going off when you didn't want it to? Or
nothing I know of, no. I didn't even have it that long.
Okay.
Maybe a week and a half.
The fact that Michael had only been in possession of the rifle for such a short period of time could be used as evidence against him in court. The prosecution could make the case that it was reckless of Michael to be wielding a loaded firearm that he wasn't familiar with indoors.
Or is it premeditated? You bought the gun knowing that you were about to use the gun.
Especially next to a family member. The detective begins questioning Michael about the details related to dismembering his wife.
I mean, she's got, none of us are young anymore, so I mean, your skin doesn't stay like it should. So each drag, did like just the muscle and the skin go with it?
I don't even remember doing that.
I don't remember that part. Yeah, and that's the brain again, trying to protect you from typically the goriest, most traumatic parts.
Another benefit of Michael's selective memory defense is that he doesn't have to disclose the gory details of what it was like to cut off his wife's head. He could be under the impression that giving those details would only serve to make him appear more like a cold-blooded killer.
There is no way that the gunshot happened the way you're presenting it. So this is the time.
Like I said, I don't remember exactly how it happened. I'm telling you, I did not do it on purpose.
Didn't kill her on purpose or didn't shoot her on purpose?
I didn't shoot her on purpose.
The detective's question implies that Michael might have intended to shoot Hope without intending to actually kill her. However, under Indiana law, this is actually somewhat of a false dichotomy. Murder in Indiana is classified as any killing done purposefully or knowingly. Here, knowingly means taking action without the specific intent to kill a person, but nonetheless with knowledge that death is substantially certain to occur. Since the evidence from Hope's autopsy proves that Michael shot his wife at point-blank range, even if he didn't exactly intend to kill her, Michael could still be convicted of murder simply because he was knowledgeable that such an action would almost certainly result in her death.
True.
It just happened.
So, in your opinion, would you call that just recklessness? It was just, I mean, because if you've got it up in the air, nobody's going to say, well, I mean, you couldn't have shot her if it was laying on the table facing down the hallway.
Nah.
Reckless, yes.
Unbeknownst to him, under Indiana law, Michael has just admitted to reckless homicide.
But also, it's a possibility, because he's been sitting in there since Thursday, right? Because this interrogation happens that Monday. Over the weekend, he could have conversed with another inmate while you in here, trying to say, and somebody told you or fed you a story to go tell the cops. Or he could have read up on something, try to. He ain't had number time to think.
Facts.
The conversation we were having at the time was over John. With the insurance, the car insurance. Because she lied to me over the car insurance. She told me that she was going to cancel the insurance.
This detail makes the circumstances surrounding Hope's death much different. He's admitted that he and his wife actually were arguing at the time he was in the kitchen with the gun, whereafter she turned around and walked away. This version of events shows an obvious motive and opportunity for Michael to shoot her in the back of the head. It makes you wonder what else Michael has lied about thus far.
Are you a fist-pounding kind of guy when you're mad? You're like, damn it, woman, just do what I'm asking you to do. And the gun was in your hand, unfortunately, at that time. Squeeze reflex?
Yes. I don't remember everything.
I'll give him too much of a
But what you said makes sense.
But I get
Like you said, that it was not intentional.
Michael seems to finally be resigning himself to some explanation of how he shot Hope, probably after realizing that detectives weren't going to back down until his story matched the evidence.
I just want to know why. Because that's the same thing you're going to want to know. Same thing your daughter wants to know. When your son wisens up, it's the same thing he's going to want to know.
I know why it happened. And I can never tell him. I can't do that to him. Because that's the reason why I pulled the trigger. Not intentionally.
Again, Michael cites his son as the reason for his plight. However, this is the first time he specifically said that John is the reason that he killed his wife. He quickly tries to backtrack, though the statement implies that Michael is probably more aware of the reason behind Hope's death than what he's letting on. He may have slipped up due to stress and fatigue from the long interrogation. After 4 long hours, the interrogation is now over. Michael is escorted from the interrogation room without further incident. Following his interview, Michael was moved to Montgomery County Jail, where he sat for almost 2 years. He was scheduled to stand trial in front of a jury on May 9th, 2022. That is, until investigators made a single haunting find that would spell doom for Michael's case. It was discovered that prior to Michael murdering his wife, he'd been doing online research on the effectiveness of bottle silencers. Bottle silencers are makeshift gun silencers constructed simply from plastic bottles. Not only that, but he'd also looked into whether pillows could be used to muffle gunfire. This discovery proved that the murder of 44-year-old Hope Parks was indeed premeditated, and under Indiana state law, crushed all possibility of Michael receiving anything less than a murder charge. On May 6, 2022, just 3 days before he was scheduled to stand trial, Michael changed his plea from not guilty to guilty and accepted a negotiated plea deal. On May 9th, Michael Parks was found guilty of the murder of his wife, Hope Parks. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison without the possibility of parole. We reached out to Michael through email to see if he would be willing to share his side of the story and answer some of our questions about the case. At first, we didn't hear back, but when Michael finally responded, he stated that he would only participate in a discussion if we met his list of demands, including $300 to be put into his commissary account and for a fan and a television, specifically 36 inches or more, to be shipped to his facility. We did not agree to any of these terms and are still waiting to hear back if Michael will speak with us. Michael is set to be released in 2070 when he is 94 years old.
Boy, you ain't gonna see the light of day outside there. You doing well, I'll say this. I don't know, they might do 80%. I don't know what the stipulation behind Indiana and their what's called.
Wow.
Like in Tennessee, you gotta do time for time. So you gotta, like, if you get 50 years, you gotta do 100% of the time. It used to be 85%, plus you can get some good time at it and you can take some courses and stuff. But now 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I've also heard, like, say for instance in Illinois, especially with the Chicago people, they be like, I got 10 years at 50%, and they only do 5 years, and I'm like, damn, at 50%, I most definitely take copy any deal, because most of them sit in jail about 4-5 years anyway before they go to trial. So already you just come straight home, So, but Tennessee, for a fact, you do 100% of your time.
And for you to say that you took her life because of freaking insurance that has to do with your son, you was tired of arguing. Like, that is so
lame.
really?
Oh, fuck boy.
Like, come on now.
Some
Rest in
lame
peace to
ass
Hope. Because most definitely.
There's no reason why she should have been killed. There's no, the fuck, and the way you did her and the manner you did her, you hated that woman.
Man.
You not only did you kill her for point blank behind her head, pause with a rifle, right?
Right.
That's the reason why also a gunshot probably wasn't heard, and he probably did have a silencer.
He probably did. Yeah, ain't no
to muffle the noise as much as he could, so the neighbors wouldn't hear, because the neighbors seemed like they're very nosy.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, you decapitated her, buried the head.
Yep.
Then you went and hung her on a bridge.
That's some evil.
Boy, you ain't get to. And the manner you talked about her after the fact. You didn't give two fucks about your
You
wife.
didn't care. But again, rest in peace to Hope.
Fast,
That's
man.
sad.
Sad way to go out, man. Didn't even see it coming. Hey, man, y'all spam us up in the comments. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about it for us in the comment section down below. But until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is
Sierra Nicole.
We are.
Kid and C.
We out.
Go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar, 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 dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar, 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 dollar. Let me watch out for my power.